In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight we have a very special guest, Dr. Lila Elliott. Dr. Lila Elliott served as a distinguished suicide prevention social worker at the Department of Veterans Affairs, where she provides critical mental health support for veterans for 3 years, drawing on her expertise in trauma-informed care. For 16 years at the Department of Justice, she sharpened her leadership skills, spearheading impactful initiatives that promoted social justice and community welfare. Her academic journey was remarkable, encompassing a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in human services counseling, a master's in social work, and a doctorate in social work from the University of Kentucky, all earned with distinction, including a 4.0 GPA during her doctoral studies. Dr. Elliott's research, rooted in the empowerment and resilience framework, explored the impact of childhood trauma on the educational aspirations of African American women, delivering transformative insights for higher education. Her contributions reach far beyond her professional and academic endeavors. She received the prestigious United Health Foundation Diversity in Health Care Scholarship, recognizing her academic excellence and dedication to health equity. As editor-in-chief at the University of Kentucky, she influenced a scholarly discourse, and her mentorship of numerous scholars and colleagues highlighted her commitment to developing future leaders. A dedicated member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Dr. Elliott led community services initiatives that advanced mental health awareness and education, strengthening her advocacy for marginalized communities. Married to her lifelong partner, Danye Mr. Heartbeat, mother of Jaden, now 21, and Jay Sean, now 17, and devoted to her Rottweiler companion named Ghost. Dr. Elliott exemplified resilience, having overcome a challenging upbringing as a third of 4 siblings to become a trailblazing scholar and advocate. Through her brand, Dr. Lila Effect, Architect of Legacy, Dr. Lila Elliott will publish her work that advanced the discourse on mental health, education, and social justice, inspiring generations of African American women, scholars, and social workers with her bold vision and unwavering resolve. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you all to Dr. Lila Elliott. Hello, Dr.
Hello,
Elliott.
Mr. King. Thank you so very much for having me on your show. It is a pleasure and honor to be here to stand before you today to give back to our community. Thank you.
Oh, no, I thank you. The honor is all
Thank
mine.
you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to your bio before we get into the show?
No, thank you for asking, because my bio can be long and drawn out for the rest of the evening. So we're just going to wrap it up for now. I don't like tooting my own horn, but I am Dr. Lila Effect, the architect of legacy.
Okay, that's I definitely appreciate that. So, but before we get started, let me just say for the disclosure that Dr. Elliott is here on her own professional cognizance, and is not representing any other agency or places that she works or has worked. So as we start, I want to delve right here into this mental health and trauma, because this is really, really important, and this is a lot to do with our communities today as we speak. Can you tell us what inspired you to specialize in trauma care for women, and how has that journey evolved over time? Dr. Elliott? Dr. Elliott? Okay. Dr. Elliott. Let's see if we can try to get Dr. Elliott back on. Um,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
okay.
Okay. I'm sorry about
No, I
that.
apologize too. We having a storm here, so my apologies.
Oh, oh wow. Yeah, so let me just ask that question
Sure.
again. What inspired you to specialize in trauma care for women, and how has that journey evolved over time?
Um, so that question stemmed from birth. Um, Coming out the womb, I walked into trauma. I came from a trauma bonding family that I embrace now because that has molded me to be the successful Black woman from trauma. So I didn't choose it, it chose me. And so, why I wanted to specialize in it is because I wanted to back up my life experiences with research through evidence based practice. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we're back. Yeah, actually, I hope it seems like y'all got a worse storm than
Oh
what
my
we
goodness.
had. It rolled through here earlier today, so it's
Yeah.
gone.
Okay.
But anyway, if you want to
Okay.
continue, or
Sure. So the question was that how did I get involved in trauma informed care? And as I was stating, um, I came out the womb into a trauma environment that has shaped and molded me to be the person that I am today. So, with all of the adversities and with all the trials and tribulations, I was one that wanted to explore why I had so much of a passion and drive to be resilient and empower others through my heartache and pain. And so
Mhm,
I have the lived experiences, Mr. King, but what I was missing was the research and the evidence based practice to back up why I am who I am and what makes me the Dr. Lila effect. So that's how I walked
mhm.
into the trauma informed care arena.
Oh wow. So, with the place that you was working at, I mean, did you guys have something established already when it came to women in particular, or was this one of the ideas that you founded and you added to that organization?
So, yes, I have always been trained in trauma informed care, working 16 years for the Department of Justice and now 3 years for the Department of Veteran Affairs. Our life revolves around providing services to most marginalized individuals, regardless of what race they are, that struggle with trauma. Most of the
Mhm,
time, the clients that I've served and the population that I admire a lot, they come from a trauma background. A lot of times, our
mhm,
severe mental health illnesses stem from trauma. For example,
mhm,
sexual abuse, physical abuse, unhealthy relationships, emotional irregulation stems from trauma. Bullying is a form of trauma. Military,
mm,
PTSD, seeing bombs, that is trauma. I look at everything through a lens of trauma. It's not what's wrong with her. It's not what's wrong with them or they. It's not what's wrong with him. It's what happened to them, they, he or she. And so I am really, really big on understanding that trauma may look like that angry Black woman syndrome. Trauma may look
mm,
like that angry man that do not do well with his or her partners. And
mhm,
trauma is so unique, and I love it, and I'm married to trauma informed care. It allows me to do a deep dive to understand how people behave and why they choose the things that they choose and why they do things that they do. So I have a lot of extra patience and passion for people that have been impacted by trauma just because of where I came from. Lived
mhm,
experiences are better than things that I learned from the DSM 5 TR manual. Things,
mhm,
trauma is so embedded in me when I communicate with my family, and they may be a little aggressive. I am looking at it from a lens of, well, I wonder what has happened, what is going on in his or her life in the moment. I don't take it personal. I just look at it from a different optic view, Mr. King.
mhm. Well, so when from the demographics of people that come into your unit, where you serve, can you tell us what would the numbers kind of look like for those that are the African American descent compared to the other ethnicities?
I will honestly say, in the populations that I serve in, which is a psychotherapist assessor and a
Hmm.
psychiatric inpatient facility that deals with acute mental health disorders. Some may ask, Dr. Elliott, what does that mean? Those diagnoses can look like bipolar, manic. Those diagnoses can look like schizophrenic. Those diagnoses can look like generalized anxiety disorder. Those diagnoses can be Asperger's. Those diagnoses can also be, it may be, impulsive control behaviors. So every population that I serve, even in regards to the suicide aspect of everything that I do on a day-to-day basis, I would say the population is more of other races outside of African American races, to be very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Our African American population is just warming up to being okay to say, I need help. I am not okay, Dr. Elliott. I do have
Mm-hmm.
something going on with me. Because in my culture, in your culture, as African American people, we were trained what happens in the house stays in the house.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter what it was. Stay in a child's place, go outside and play, get from around adults, stop
Mm-hmm.
being grown and managed. I can go on and on, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
King.
Yep.
So I have seen, me personally have seen more of other races. And I will say, with the population that I serve right now, 80% is other races outside of African Americans, to be very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean those numbers can be skewed, because just because Dr. Elliott has not encountered them
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that they're not providing themselves with the help that they need as African American people. They
Mm-hmm.
very well could be doing telehealth sessions and they're not coming in person to receive
Mm-hmm.
psychotherapy for their needs. And or they may feel like, I have been like this for 50 some years and you is not getting ready to tell me I have a disorder. Okay? So it's a lot of factors that come with it, but I have to give credit where credit is due.
Mm-hmm.
Our African American, Black people, and people of color are coming out, showing up, and showing out in regards to owning mental health is okay. I
Mm-hmm.
have a problem. I am not my best self today. Dr. Elliott, I am suicidal, but I'm calling you to tell you that I'm using my safety plan. I don't have any plan, intent, or means, but I'm not okay today. And
Mm-hmm.
so just today, I had an entire whole conversation with one of my clients that was at his lowest point in regards to not being able to see his daughter that's 13 years old.
Wow.
He is hard worker. He's unhappy with relationships. And he called and asked for help. And I talked to that client for almost 1 hour, being able to de escalate, calm him down, safety plan, listen to what he's saying, and meet him where he is. And all he wanted, Mr. King, was to be able to feel comfortable enough to not be judged by another professional, but to be his authentic self and say just how he was feeling. We
Mm-hmm.
did, we had an amazing session. He safety planned, he became stable. I provided him resources. He was able to laugh and he was able to deny any harm. He didn't want to do anything to himself and he had a sense of hope. And he also asked me if we could pray together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So today was a great day for me, even with the storm in the state of Virginia. It's moments like that, Mr. King, when you ask me, Dr. Elliott, why trauma informed care? That is my why. Because when I
Oh,
touch the lives of clients like that, and I can get them to be able to be stable enough within 1 hour session, I'm
mm-hmm.
winning. And I have a calling, and it's my passion. And everything that I say and I do, I strive to do the best that I can. I'm not perfect, and I'm a work in progress. But when I tell you I enjoy being a trauma informed professional, and social worker and teacher and psychotherapist and all the above. It's just my calling.
Mm. Wow. Well, I definitely agree with you about, there are an enormous amount of people that's in our communities now that are, reaching out, and trying to get that help when they think something's happening from a mental capacity. My thing is, just with that, I'm sure that, at your clinic where you work, that there are several people that are very happy with what you're doing because I could hear the passion in the speech. Can you just tell us what are the most overlooked dimensions in trauma in women that society still needs to address?
Understand the microaggressions is very loud. Microaggression towards African American women are very loud, and
Mhm,
yet it's still an issue in our society. I can
mhm,
speak from using an I statement. I am a very successful African American strong black woman that have a lot of success, but I've worked my hindparts off to get everything that I have. And yet I still, Dr. King, excuse me, Mr. King, I still encounter microaggression from other races that just don't want me to be great. That's a
mhm.
problem.
It
And we
is.
need to talk about it and address it. And I think sometimes when you come from a trauma background, it's a thin line between how can I say this? Do I say something? Or do I let that one pass today?
Mhm,
Because there's already a label when you're very strong and assertive and you are not a play toy. You intimidate many people that you cross paths with. It's unfortunate, but we have, as Black women, African American women, we encounter a lot of microaggressions behind the scenes, and there is still racism. I mean, now more than ever before.
mhm,
Look at the title of our show tonight, America in Black and White. That
mhm.
says a lot, right?
Yes, it does. The truth, nothing but the truth.
Amen.
And I know we're just getting into the show, but already you've hit an enormous amount of points that I'm sure that people really need to listen to exactly what this is that you're saying.
Yes.
So when we think about the perspective as you spoke on, from a black woman's perspective, with these microaggressions and so forth, as you say, they are loud. But
Yes.
what are some suggestions that you may have, for some women that are actually encountering this situation?
Okay, I am so glad that you asked that question. Let me give you a concise, detailed example.
Mm,
So, a few months ago, I was sitting in the break room at my full-time job, and there are a host of colleagues of different race that are in the actual lunchroom at the same time. And they call themselves the lunchroom crew because they go in there at a certain time. Well, I had another colleague that was an African American woman of color walk into the break room. And the topic at that time, the theme at that time for lunch was TV shows, reality shows. And so Mr. King, um, my colleague that is an African American woman of color that is a licensed mental health provider, and sitting at the table, the lunchroom crew are all licensed mental health providers, but mostly other races outside of African American women and women of color. So the young lady, the colleague of mine, she said, I like ratchet TV shows like Love and Hip Hop of New York or Love and Hip Hop of Atlanta or Real
mhm,
Housewives of Atlanta. And I had another colleague, a licensed mental health provider, that's another race, say, you look like you like those type of shows.
Oh.
Okay, so let me tell you, Mr. King. Let me tell you, Mr. King. You asked Dr. Lila
Uh-huh.
what and how she addressed things like that. I was so assertive. You would have been proud of me. I would have got plus 10 points on an extra credit assignment that day. I immediately text her
Mm-hmm.
because what I'm not going to do is come outside of my character, but you will know that you were inappropriate and it was offensive. I text her because she is a friend of mine. And I
Mm-hmm.
shared with her that comment that you made to that young lady, that was inappropriate and that was a microaggression and it was extremely racist. I said, from another optic view, outside looking in, you are another colleague of another race telling a African American woman of color that she looks like she like
Mm-mm.
ratchet shows. I don't want to
Mm-mm.
write no incident reports. I'm not writing no memos because that could have
Mm-mm.
went another way.
Yes,
And
real quick.
so, yes. So my responses at this present time, I am holding people accountable one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
How I do it, it just depends on how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be honest.
Right. No, and I respect you for that, and I like that, and believe me, I'm 500% behind you because these are things that need to be addressed instantaneously. I mean, look, I'm too old to be playing these games where, like, okay, well, let me just tell you, well, let's just do this. No, no, I'm gonna check that right there at that point. That's how I am
Thank you.
right now. So I
Yes.
ain't playing all that. But as you mentioned that, you see, these are some of the things also that they did to Kamala Harris while she was running for president.
Hmm.
These were the exact same things, but they did it from so many different sides that it was like, oh my God, she's in front of a firing squad. What would you have said to her to recommend that she be able to at least try to rein some of that in?
So that's my sorority sister. So
Okay.
um she endured a lot, but she was a threat. So part of that is also a compliment. However, comma, I would have had a conversation with her and asked her, on a side note, have any of these behaviors that have been disrespectful in mannerisms been addressed, even by your staff? Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily if she, because say, for example, Mr. King, I work for her and I saw
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing wrong with me holding another colleague accountable
Accountable. Yep.
because as a licensed mental health professional that I am, I still have a code of ethics to adhere to. And
Mm-hmm.
so, Mr. King, if I can't come to you as another professional colleague and us have a conversation on an adult level, listen, we might be in the wrong business
Mm-hmm.
because the last time I checked, I don't say everything dress right dress. The biggest hiccup right now in the field of mental health is acknowledging clients' pronouns. That
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest issue. And you have some mental health professionals that are so archaic and set in their ways. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want to take ownership. That is your own biases. And we need to go ahead and do an after action plan and have a trauma. We're going to have a bias training. It's
Mm-hmm.
called a refresher training. And we're going to have to talk about these things. And if you feel like it's uncomfortable, I apologize in advance. But it's some takeaways that each and every one of us can take away from it. And that's a real life example of how sometimes you have to have these conversations with colleagues that may not be comfortable, but we have to normalize them. Because if we don't hold people accountable for their actions, they will continue to say things and do things. And this is why I am in the position that I'm in today, to empower and promote that even if you have a past and it was ugly and you feel like, you shouldn't belong, we all belong. And we're going to all sit at the table together. You may not like me, but you will respect me. And that's what I will tell my madam former vice president. If you don't want to do it, hey, go ahead and, tap one of your colleagues that work for you. Hey, can you address this? Because this continues to happen. Because she was blatantly being disrespected by her male counter, other race professionals on TV.
Yes.
On
yes.
TV.
Yes.
So, Mr. King, can you imagine what was taking place behind the scenes?
Oh, Lord Jesus. I've already imagined that.
See what I'm saying? Like, we can talk about, that's a whole nother episode.
Yes.
For
it
another
is.
whole season.
Yes.
How many times did we see the blatant disrespect captured on national TV?
Right.
All because she is that strong African American Black woman.
So tell me something. Have you ever seen misogyny get to that point? Because the misogynists were all over the place. And it was just like, this woman ain't going to tell me what to do. I'm not voting her because she's a woman.
No, I have not ever seen it get to that point until we had an African American woman in a position of power like that. I actually did not know people were bold enough to be that blatantly a sense of hatred.
Yes, that was all hatred. That was all hatred.
And it's hurtful.
It is. It is. And, I have to say that despite all that, I actually did a blog post. I wrote a blog about this.
Okay.
But I will say what she said to the American people, they're, they messed around and they're more than finding out now. They're more than finding out now. Because I can tell you when she said, we will be in a war in I think she said 3 to 6 months. I can't remember exactly what that time frame was, but we're right within that time frame, just as she said it.
Yeah. Yes. And another thing, this is not a question that you asked me, but it's segue. And I think that, when our shows are live like this, it's just authentic. So again, thank you for this opportunity, because we can talk for longer than an hour and 30 minutes easily tonight.
Yes.
But I think also too, Mr. King, we are in a crisis right now with just the way society is being governed. Yeah. It is very hurtful to try to be a licensed clinical social worker in these times now, because the things that I hear is just so heavy. And I still have to maintain my own balance, my own boundaries, and my own self-care. But as a mental health professional in the African American community, we are almost living in the last days. It feels like it's just heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
And not just the marginalized community is feeling it. The supporters are feeling it too.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's what you get. I mean, it's no other way. Nana nana boo boo. That's what you all get, because that's what you all voted for. But Dr. Lila did not.
Right. And I remind a few folk. I did some TikTok lives, as a matter of fact.
I know you did.
To remind those people, there's no need to complain when you got what you voted for. So why are you upset now? You asked for this and you got it.
Exactly. Period. It's just what it is. Yeah, and I see reels, I
Mm-hmm.
see social media posts,
Mm-hmm.
and I see it, and I keep right on strolling because there were a lot of supporters,
Mm-hmm.
even
All
from
right.
our community, believe it or
Oh,
not.
oh, what you talking about?
What you talking about?
Yes.
Big facts.
Yes, that's 15% black men and 5% black women.
Come on with it. Come on
Yeah.
with it. But
Yeah.
I want five. I want the 5%. I won't. I promise you I won't. I want the 5%.
You know, I tell you, oh boy.
I
See,
know. It's
it's
tough.
and you know, so but the laughter actually helps because as we say it out loud, and I think for those that actually listen to it, when you hear it out loud, you know just how dumb, how crazy that was, but also they should realize how disrespectful they were. But in
Yes.
the process of all of that, I still say, I'm going to say this as we move on, but 2045, that's the change. That's the
Okay.
change. And I want them to be ready for that because that change is going to go back to where it was originally. People that look like you and I are going to be running this whole thing.
And, and listen, if they have Mr. King's and Dr. Lila effects, I'll take it.
Okay? Because they
I'll
need
take
it.
it. And I'm ready for it. And
Yes.
actually, I'm being molded now. So
Mm-hmm.
let's go. Because
Exactly.
I can go against the strongest of the strongest and the best of the best. Because
Mm-hmm.
baby, honey, when my mama had me, she had her a soldier.
Okay. That's
So
what's
I'm
up.
for it. I'm
That's what's
for it.
up. So, can you tell us how has your work in suicide prevention shaped your understanding of resilience, especially among the veterans?
Being able to, as a veteran, and coming to the table with SI, which is suicide ideations or suicide attempts, coming to the table to be honest and upfront is resilience all in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you asked this question because when I have dialogues with my clients that have experienced SI or suicide attempts, my approach is really, really unique
Mm-hmm.
because there is a stigma attached to suicide ideations and previous suicide behavior and preparatory behavior.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our clients that have that, they are on the lines of, hey, I do not want to get a temporary detention order, which is a TDO,
Mm-hmm.
or have to be detained by emergency custody order, a ECO, because of the SI or the plan and intent. So they're not healthy right now mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So that impacts their job.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the clients are government employees. So
Oh,
they don't want their employer to find out. And a lot of them are exposed and specialize in firearms.
oh,
So a
yeah.
lot of times, resilience for my clients looks like, hey, Dr. Elliott, I am here to say that I am open to the support that you are able to provide me because I don't want to go back to that dark place and
Mm-hmm.
take 10 trazodone pills because you know what? I just want to block this unhealthy marriage that I came out of. Or, I don't want to hold the gun to my head in front of my child because I don't feel like I'm a good parent because I lost my leg.
Mm-hmm.
It's different things like that. So when you speak on resilience, I think being able to ask for help and say what they struggle with and what actions led them to suicide prevention services.
Okay.
And that's resilience in itself.
So like, so with the veterans that you're seeing now at this time and so forth, can you tell us, like, what's been the status with the veterans? Have there been like increases, in these crises with them?
Yes, ever since January 2025,
Uh-uh.
we have received an influx in crisis.
Mm-mm.
And to be transparent and give you the actual stats, my office receive an average of 20 calls a day.
Oh, wow.
And I said an average a day of suicide ideations, suicide attempts, and or emergency room admissions. And so if they are a client, we have to follow up with them within 24 hours.
Mhm.
And what causes the SI or the attempt is trauma. I have lost my job, Dr. Elliott, and I am sleeping in my car. And I have given to the country, or I have worked on a job for 20 years. And now, because of the changes that have just recently occurred since January, I don't have no income. I don't have nowhere to live. Services are being taken away from us. And it's just, I, I don't know any other way to say it, but we are in bad shape, and it's not helping the client's mental health. And you can refer and okay, can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
So your last question was based off of um the resilience aspect of it, what makes them resilient. And I feel like my clients, what makes them unique and exhibit resilience is asking for help.
Mhm. So, can you share a moment from your clinical practice that reinforced your commitment to mental health advocacy?
So, Mr. King, I am currently evolving my brand. And my brand, as you know, is Dr. Lila, Effect, the Architect of Legacy. And you may ask, well, how did that come about? That brand is just me being who I am and being able to provide a service to all that cross my path, whether they are my church members, my friends, my colleagues, my family members, me creating a legacy. So, whoever I communicate with, I deal with, I am exhibiting that empowerment and that resilience framework that I integrated. And so I pretty much, that is my practice. That is my clinical practice day in and day out. It can get very taxing and it can get tiresome because when you are a superhero, it's sometimes hard taking the cape off because you want to save everybody and you want to pour into everybody. So it can be a double-edged sword because, again, I get exhausted and tired, but that's where the self-care and the balance come in.
Mhm.
So that is how I use my clinical, that's how I govern my clinical practice day in and day out. Just pouring in that resilience and empowerment framework approach.
So, what systems of support do you believe are most effective in preventing suicide among veterans?
Effective and non-judgment communication.
Okay.
What that looks like, effective non-judgment communication, may be calling a client and just asking them, hey, this is Dr. Lila. I'm just calling to check on you today. Didn't want anything, just wanted to see how you were doing and do you need any support? It go a long way.
Right.
I mean, it's interesting because now that I am a doctor and I am a African American woman, most of the time when I say doctor, like people are intrigued anyway. It's almost like I'm proud of you. So
Hmm.
yes, I will take heed and I will listen to you. So
Hmm.
that's an advantage and I use it. I
Hmm.
use it as a tool and
Hmm.
as a system, Mr. King, to be able to connect with my clients that I provide services to.
Oh wow. So let's transition over to academia. You know
Okay,
where you are a professor and you do instruct in a lot in quite a few courses. Can
sure.
you tell us what intersections do you see between criminal justice and trauma informed care?
Very good question. The intersection that I see that connects both is that you may have an offender, an inmate, a parolee, a probationer, whatever you may call it, in the setting that you are in, that comes from a trauma background. Dr. Elliott, I sold drugs because my dad wasn't in my mom's life and my mom was out here struggling. We grew up in a low income housing, maybe complex or an apartment, and I just wanted to help her. So I sold drugs. That was their way of saying the trauma shaped me to making the decisions to be in the criminal justice system.
Hmm.
So you have to counteract that, and we have to allow services to help those offenders, those inmates, or those probationers, or whatever they are called in the criminal justice population, to be able to provide them resources.
Hmm.
So the connection with trauma informed care and criminal justice is most of the time there's been some evidence of trauma that have caused that person to be in the criminal justice system,
Hmm.
aka incarcerated.
Right. How do you prepare your students in social work and criminal justice to engage ethically and compassionately with marginalized communities?
I model it. I model it.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, we're always being observed.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is always watching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Random times a stranger may come up and say something real like weird to you because you don't even know them. I've seen how you communicate with your children. You're a very good mother. You know what I mean? Someone is always watching. So I say this because I am a professor.
Mm-hmm.
My scholars, because I call them scholars, they're always watching, and how I carry myself, how I communicate in written form when I'm responding to them in an email that is within 24 hours. That
Mm-hmm.
go a long way, Mr. King. You
Mm-hmm.
have a scholar reach out to you, have had a family emergency, and you may have the mindset, you know, I'll reach out to him when I can. Or if it's the weekend, this is my weekend, which is nothing wrong with that. But promptness shows what type of person I am,
Mm-hmm.
which provides them an example when they get into the workforce, how they should be responsive, especially if you are on the clock. Just ignoring someone's email, that can send a non-subliminal message. I don't care. I don't have good work ethics. I'm not prompt. I like to be early.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean early. So if I'm not early, I consider myself late.
Mm-hmm.
So just how I model and how I communicate is how the criminal justice and the field of social work with me modeling just the actual expectations of ethics within the workforce. I
Mm-hmm.
have shared with a lot of my scholars, when you are communicating through written form, just something as small as, hello, Dr. Elliott. I've had some scholars that go straight into the question, why did I get an 80 on this assignment? And so I have to reframe and redirect them. Good afternoon, Mr. Such and Such, because I address scholars by their last name
Mm-hmm.
because I expect the same. I am Dr. Elliott, okay? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not Lila, none of that, because it's a professional setting.
Mm-hmm.
So you model the work ethics and the ethics and values that you want your students to adhere to and scholars to adhere to. I think that's the best way of teaching outside of supporting it with literature.
Mm-hmm. So, what changes would you like to see in how universities train future professionals to respond to mental health crises?
Make it a normalized resource and program that can reach all scholars. Easy and accessible, confidential, and reliable. That is the biggest thing. Some universities have programs like that. Some
Mm-hmm.
universities have not evolved. I think it would be very helpful to have mental health programs that focus on substance abuse, that focus on sexual abuse, that focus on mental health disorders, that focus on reasonable accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
All of that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is far fetched, and it's a lot of different facets that come with it. But having the programs to
Mm-hmm.
back up supporting mental health will go a long way. And there are universities. One of the universities that I am an instructor at, they have a third party contract with a well known mental health company that does nothing but telehealth, and it's free. That's how we can support mental health within the higher learning educational arena.
So let's just say one of the schools that you're at right now. if they've decided to set up these programs, to help with mental health, why is it that the university system as a whole is not doing that same thing?
We have systems in place in higher learning that have not caught up with the needs of our scholars. We have universities that are governed by grants, research funding that do not support our scholars that are in need, Mr. King. Hint, DEI is mostly gone. DEI cover mental health programs too. So we want to know what's the cause. It's the systems that's a part of the systems that are a part of the systems that is trying to keep us stuck.
So how has your academic work allowed you to amplify voices that are too often silenced in mainstream discourse?
Allowing the scholar and the student to be able to express themselves during asynchronous sessions, office hours. If it's in person, allow a dialogue to take place as long as it's respectful and not, degrading or, it can become, offensive. Having those conversations where every voice is heard. We have very brilliant students and scholars in higher education arenas right now, but they don't feel like they're being heard or seen by the professors. They feel like, some professors have forgotten where they came from. They, sometimes, when we become and we get certain, titles, we're not humble. We're a little strict, or, we are nitpicky. So it's a lot of our own biases and prejudices that get in the way as professors and higher learning education staff that sometimes will have our students and scholars stuck where they don't feel heard and seen.
So if you could redesign the criminal justice curriculum to center healing, what elements would you include?
Trauma-informed care, rehabilitation, and workforce resources.
Why those three?
Cause I'm just like that, Mr. King. I'm dope. I'm just like I don't even know where that came from. I was just spitting it. I don't even know. So trauma-informed care, rehabilitation services. That's powerful. And workforce resources.
Yes.
Why do I say that? Because let's get to the core foundation of why we got here, right? All right.
Preach
Let
it.
the church say amen. All
Amen.
right.
Amen.
And then we're going to focus on rehabilitation because I don't want you to come back.
Exactly.
I don't want you to be a part of the recidivism rate. Right?
Yes.
And then you know what Dr. Elliott effect, she's going to provide you a good old job so you can feel like you can survive on your own without going back out here making the mistake that you made originally. Hello, somebody.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, see, especially in a lot of these curriculums, I would think that for the prices that they're charging for higher education, that they would give you more for the buck.
Okay.
When I say that, like not all instructors would be all in like you are to ensure your students get this understanding and you're being about as clear and concise as possible. A lot of the instructors are there just strictly for the paycheck.
Correct. You're right.
And so if they're just there for the paycheck, they can give less than the care what the curriculum says. They said, this is what we have to learn. So this is what I'm telling you and teaching you or instructing you on.
Yes. And also, too, Mr. King, it's important to know that a historical Black college and university, also known as HBCU, versus a predominantly white institution, PWI,
Mm-hmm.
teach very different curriculums.
Yep.
So that's an issue.
No, that's one thing I'm screaming and screaming to the top of my lungs to all of my younger nieces and nephews. Go to
Yes, sir.
HBCU. Go to
Yes,
HBCU and be done. Forget all that other stuff about this marketing and what they sinking money into, because them places don't really care for you. No way, they ain't teaching you none. But it's been an arguable point for some time now that the curriculum at HBCUs are much more strenuous than these other schools anyway. They just
you're
have
right.
they just have a name.
You're right. And I have a lot of colleagues, including myself, that have
Hmm.
experienced both.
Hmm.
And I teach at both.
Hmm.
So, with that being said,
Yes.
if you ask me what is the difference in the
Hmm.
scholars,
Hmm.
a sense of entitlement is at one
Ooh.
location versus the other.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay. Look here. You couldn't have said that. I mean, you didn't even have to think about that because we know that that's a fact.
A big fact
Yes.
with exclamation marks behind it.
Yes. Big time. Big
And
time.
also, too, privileged.
Yes. Mm. Yeah. So when you come back on the show, we gonna tab all of those. We are
Thank
definitely
you.
gonna tab all of those,
Yes, please.
and that's a
Yes,
promise.
please. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please. And thank you in advance.
So let's move over to your public speaking and community outreach.
Okay.
What message do you aim to leave with every public speaking engagement, especially when addressing mental health?
I have mental health issues, and look at me. And I'm Dr. Lila Effect, the architect of legacy. So don't judge a book by its cover until you open it up and read it. That's it. That's all, folks.
Okay. Um, in your community outreach work,
Okay.
how do you build trust with individuals who have experienced deep trauma?
Having a normal conversation and approaching them. Hey, I'm Dr. Elliott. I'm here representing such and such agency, organization, or practice. How are you today? Having some humility and be able to connect. When I go to outreaches and I am in their arena, it's different.
Hmm.
I can't go in their arena, their house, you know, um, they safe space and not have a sense of connection. You have to be able to connect. And
Yes.
so if you cannot connect, it's very difficult to have a provider, a medical provider,
Hmm.
or have a mental health provider, and you don't connect with them.
Yeah,
How are they
that's
going
kind of strange.
how is that going to work out for either one of us? It's not. I'm not going to ask you for no prescription refills because I feel like you're going to think that I'm abusing drugs.
Hmm.
Let's be truthful. You
Hmm.
ask for pain medications and you are looked at really differently. And if you don't connect and you can't have that great interpersonal professional relationship with the medical provider or the mental health provider, it's going to be very challenging because you will be judged. You
Hmm.
will be stereotyped. So I think being able to connect when I am in their wheelhouse, whether it's a high school, me doing a suicide prevention high school awareness night out, I
Hmm.
listen, I get down with the get down. I'm outside too playing kickball. I'm outside too jump roping. You
Okay.
listen, you gotta be able to meet people where they are for people to open up to you.
That is
And
true.
it's not a lot of me's, but I'm mighty, mighty good at what I do. And it's funny because I asked one of my siblings, I said, what is the difference in being blessed versus having a gift? And we just talked this morning. I said, I have a show tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I don't know what I'm going to say. And
Mm-hmm.
he said to me, our oldest sibling said, that's a gift. That's not a blessing. When
Oh.
you don't have to have an agenda or a script and you can freestyle and be your authentic self and people can feel
Mm-hmm.
that you have a really pure vibration, that's
Mm-hmm.
a gift, Mr. King.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because that's how clients feel about me. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to connect. That's the start.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. And I'm sure that it seems like when you go to these events, I can just imagine when you come across some of those folks when you're doing that outreach that they've got to feel more than just comfortable because, as you was just mentioning, being your authentic self and knowing that you're not coming out with this agenda. Oh, let me just try to bring you
Yep.
on in, and then next thing you know, we're gonna commit you.
Yep. That's right. No, you're right. Because
So,
I may be one day away from a commitment too. Hello, somebody.
oh,
I see a therapist too, and I'm okay saying that. And I am a
right,
therapist. And
right,
that's okay. That's
right.
how I have become the person that I am. To
Mm-hmm.
be able to self-disclose in a way where you're not acting like you're better than anybody else. Where they
Mm-hmm.
do that at?
Right.
People won't respect you.
No, they surely won't.
And they'll
They
tell you
surely won't.
anything. Yeah, I got 8 kids. Yeah, I'm HIV positive. They'll say all kinds of things because they don't even want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that you don't care for them and they know that you only there for a paycheck. People
Yep.
can tell.
Yes. What has been your most rewarding outreach initiative to date, and why?
Mm. Speaking at a high school, um, in regards to breaking the silence on suicide prevention, interventions, risk factors, and protective factors with younger adults, older adults, but younger adults
Mm-hmm.
in high
Mm-hmm.
school. That was my most memorable outreach
And
because it was a panel governed by like-minded young adults, ninth through 12th grade, and I think they even brought back some actual graduates from the high school to speak on what services they would like to see in high schools to help support our younger students in high school and elementary school and middle school feel supported about suicide prevention. And to hear those babies talk about, I don't feel like I'm being heard when I go home and I tell my mom that I am down and I'm depressed, or when I speak to a teacher and tell them that I have nothing else to live for because I lost my grandmother or I lost my grandfather and they were my support system. I'm not I just wanna take my life. I feel like younger adults are not taken seriously. And I think that what will help that is more awareness within the schools and outreaches like breaking the silence, you know, being okay with having these conversations from like minded younger adults, being able to tell us really what we are missing as far as supporting them.
well, how do you navigate the balance between storytelling and evidence-based approaches when engaging the public?
depending on the actual setting, I feel like you have to have a balance. Storytelling is fine, but depending on the actual setting and the audience, sometimes you have to back it up with literature
Mm-hmm.
to be respected and be credible, because evidence based practices are supported by literature.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go against that. The
Mm-hmm.
author and the year was published. You got to give credit.
Yep.
When you use my work, I want the credit because I have earned my degree, my doctorate degree. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to give credit. And sometimes storytelling may be okay, but you have to know the setting and the environment that you are in.
So, what shifts have you witnessed in mental health stigma through your outreach efforts?
Through my outreach efforts, what I have noticed the most is that mental health is becoming a normalized conversation in a lot of our communities.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to be very honest about that.
Mhm.
People are coming out to outreaches and events within their local communities, libraries, high schools. It might be at the rec centers. It may be at a basketball game. It may be at a football game, a hockey game. It may be even at a music concert. People are normalizing the conversations of mental health. And I
Mhm.
am very proud of the growth because it wasn't like that. When I
Mhm.
was growing up, it wasn't even identified.
That
And
is
I
true.
wish that it was, because it would have helped give me more clarity on the why.
So, when I reached out to you and I mentioned to you that we do Black History 365, and I asked you who was the most influential person
Mhm.
in both your career and your life, and you mentioned Barbara Solomon. And can you tell us how has Barbara Solomon's scholarship and social work shaped your philosophy towards healing in Black communities?
All I can say is that she was one that I idol because she's just great.
Hmm.
I know that's not a lot, but she have really poured. She poured in to our community, and she's an educator. And
Hmm.
I strive to be like her when I grow up.
So as we, with all the people that are out there and everybody that has contributed to so many different things in our culture, to just mention this young lady, it's a major thing. And so to me, like this young lady, I actually just was trying to find some stuff about her
Uh huh.
because I was not familiar with who she was.
Okay.
And so so she's one that definitely is going to I'm going to put her on the board, as I do a lot of posts, and so people to know who these people are,
I love it.
because I think this name deserves to be in that grace, because when we mention mental health, especially as you say, it wasn't taboo in our communities for so long. And so now coming into the 21st century where now people are actually talking about it, I think this young lady actually would serve as a pioneer.
And she will. And that's why I strive. Trauma informed care, a educator, a social worker, hello,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
a
but
African American woman that was a
right,
leader.
right.
So kudos to Barbara Solomon.
Yes. So what aspects though of her approach to mental health advocacy do you find most impactful in your daily work?
striving to continue to learn and evolve
Mm-hmm.
as a social worker and a healer and a fixer for our marginalized community.
Mm-hmm.
Leading by example, going out here, boots on the ground, and I'm not talking about with my fan,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to get my hands dirty and sometimes have my white shoes brown, but to ensure that I have made a difference in every client's life that I touch. So that's that's just what it is, just being able to give back.
Mm-hmm.
Doing this show tonight, I could have done anything else. I could have made a little side money,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm on this show to show and exhibit my passion for what I do daily. And I enjoy helping those that need me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so amazing to me because it's so beyond color. And we always have to give back to our own. But just helping people when they're at their lowest point, Mr. King, it's just what I do.
So let's talk about representation, resilience, and reform.
Wow.
How do you continue Barbara Solomon's legacy of centering Black voices in mental health and social justice spaces?
Being able to promote strong Black people that is like her and me, promoting our own, being able to not leave anyone behind, being able to afford people the opportunity to give back in their own unique way. If you enjoy sports and you have something to bring to the table, me and you can collaborate. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you are a journalist
Mm-hmm.
or a blogger and
Mm-hmm.
you are interested in trauma informed care, me and you collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
What you and I did tonight,
Mm-hmm.
this is what it's about. This
Right.
is how our community evolve and
Yep.
we allow people to all shine. No one is feeling like you're getting to the top before me. No, we going together. Because
Yep.
when Mr. King went, Dr. Lila effect went. And we going
Exactly.
together.
Exactly.
That's what it's about.
Yes, it
That's what it's
is.
about.
Yes.
And so for me, the collaboration.
Mhm. So, why is it essential to incorporate Black history into discussions on trauma and recovery?
It's the root. This is the, it is important to understand that Black history, oh boy, Mr. King, like, let's talk about the post-slave syndrome. It
Hmm.
Black history is important to know where we came from
Hmm.
and where we're going.
Yep.
We are some amazing, educated African American people in this world.
Hmm.
We have some we have some brilliant Black people.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
that's our history. And that's what makes Black history.
Yes.
Knowing our self worth, knowing our value, knowing what we bring to the table. Today, this is Black history.
Hmm.
This is for my ancestors.
Hmm.
To see me today be in a space and place where I can give back and pour back into my community,
Hmm.
they smiling down on me tonight.
Yep.
That's Black history.
Yes, it is. What challenges have you faced as a Black woman in academia, and how has Solomon's journey helped you navigate them?
When a counterpart refused to give me a chance
Mm.
because I'm a newly doctorate. And so Barbara Solomon inspires me. You keep shining, you keep going. When
Mm.
one door closed, five more may open. It may not be when you want it to, but you keep right on going because the sky's the limit.
Yes, it is. What reforms will Barbara Solomon likely push for today in social work or criminal justice? And do you share those views?
She would promote African American women history
Hmm.
in social work and criminal justice courses, course development. She would promote that.
Hmm.
And
And
unfortunately, in the culture and era that we're in with the DI, it can also be done by being very strategic and unique on how you utilize your office hours, how you engage with your actual scholars, how you create the syllabus,
right.
what different extra credit activities you can add. It's free spirit. I think what's most important, Mr. King, is being a very unique, not a black and white professor in the classroom to expose and to still promote in a very strategic manner.
Mhm. How do you honor ancestral wisdom in your practice while also embracing modern mental health strategies?
Not forgetting my roots, meditating and prayer always. Having a balance with spirituality, my spirituality, being in tune with my inner self, but also continuing to inspire and educate myself with my continuous educational units with trauma informed care, with the field of social work interventions that are very helpful and that have been created and add also to create from the mainstream frameworks. Trauma informed care is a mainstream framework.
Mhm.
Academic resilience theory is not mainstream, it's fairly new. The Black feminist theory is mainstream. Mainstream mean original, the first. And
Mhm.
so with those three frameworks, the Black feminist theory, the trauma informed care theory, which are two mainstreams, and
Mhm.
my my passion, the academic resilience, I created the empowerment and resilience framework, EARTH, ERF, because it starts from the foundation of Earth.
Mhm.
So understanding that sometimes you have to use the mainstreams, but you can also integrate interventions and frameworks that meets the needs of what you're trying to promote and your actual vision to give back.
How do you incorporate Black historical perspectives into your criminal justice or social work courses?
The best way to do that is to, when you write, when you, for me, I do a weekly what's happening this week, and I always do professional quotes at the end of every correspondence when I post to my scholars weekly. It's a weekly announcement, and I always do professional positive quotes from African American scholars. Unique, very unique.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom, encouragement, things about mental health you'd like to leave with our audience, including how they can connect with you on social media, how they can connect with you on your website? What are some of those things you'd like to leave?
So, in closing, um, I just want to say that um, anything is possible. The sky is the limit. And when I say that, I truly mean it. I went from a very broken young lady having to grow up very young to now extremely blessed and highly favored. Not taking no credit, um, but just understanding that through all of my adversities, forgiveness, love, and compassion go a very long way. And sometimes giving people grace. Give people grace and be kind to yourself. Through every trial and tribulation, there will be sunshine.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight for this great show. I want to apologize for the technical difficulties where uh, Dr. Elliott she told us in the beginning that they were having a pretty big rainstorm out there. So she's giving you a lot to think about. And when it comes to mental health, I want each and every last one of you to remember one thing. When it comes down to mental health, if you're feeling any kind of way that you think you need to talk to someone, as Dr. Elliott recommended, please go and see someone. There is no shame in the world if you're feeling some kind of way, you don't know why you're feeling that way, but if it can be helped, please go and get that help. Mental health is something that, as we spoke of earlier, that's not big in the African American community, but now people are starting to engage because they're realizing that there is a need. So for those that are feeling that need, and the doctor just mentioned also that she has a therapist. When you're feeling the way that you're feeling, you want to make sure that you're doing everything possible for your best health, because your well-being is what's most important. So please, if it's mental, if it's physical, or if it's emotional, please go and get yourself some help if you need it. Because as Dr. Elliott was speaking about, it is just very important that everybody that needs mental health treatments or just counseling, just please go and get that assistance, go and get that help. Because if you don't know what the lasting effects is going to be. So for those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, I would ask that you please support us and please hit the subscriptions button. Get all of the notifications. Every time we have a live show, you will be notified and you will be able to watch that show live. You will also have the opportunity to go and onto the channel and check out all of our previous recordings. Also, just so some words before we leave is I'd like to make this announcement that we are launching the American Black and White magazine, at the end of this month, which will be August 1st. And it will feature all of our guests for the month, but also give you some highlights, also give you the opportunity to watch their shows. And as you go through the rest of this year, there will be a poll that will be put in place that we want to have each and every individual to take the time and vote for the person that you believe is the American Black and White Person of the Year, because that person gets a full cover spread in the magazine every month, and we get to highlight that person for all the updated work that they are doing, and just some things that will be very fruitful for the actual community where people can learn to connect with these people. I want to thank you all again for watching the show tonight. I want you all to have a great weekend. I want to thank you again, Dr. Elliott, for being with us because, truly it's always a time to discuss mental health. And you have provided an enormous amount of information,
Thank you.
For what the people needed to hear. And we know that you will be back, and I'm looking forward to your next return on the show.
Yes.
And I want you to continue to have your success as you're doing the things that you do, because I want you to know that those things that you're doing are more than just impactful in the community, but they're also experiences that people will, as you say, give them that historical context, but also leave that legacy behind to where they know that there is somebody that cared enough to reach out and to do what was necessary to try and help them.
Absolutely.
So I want you to have a wonderful evening as well. Y'all have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next week on America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on America's canvas. Have a good weekend, everyone.